In today's episode, I talk about chasing the meta, Archon Skari joins us for an interview, and my team discusses our performances from the last weekend. My name is Justin Kimple, and this is The Primary Objective. Before we start, I wanted to make a quick announcement. Although I'm not doing any of this to make any money, a few people did suggest, as I think a lot of other podcasters have done, to go ahead and create a Patreon page. After looking at what it offered, I did decide to set one up, but with only one option. You can support me for $1 a month, but that is the only pledge that I have active at this point. Essentially, what that $1 a month will do for you is allow you to get some of the exclusive content that I'll be posting, and it'll be entering you into a monthly raffle where if you win, I will paint a miniature of your choice and ship it out to you live on my painting stream. So I won't be making any money from this. I'll put all the money into buying the miniatures, and I just thought it would be a neat way to give back to the community. Anyways, on with the show today. If you have known me for any amount of time here in the local meta, I am known as the AdMech guy. And if you know anything about AdMech, essentially since their release, aside from one formation in 7th edition, they have not been a competitive army. Many times over the years, people have asked, why not play a different army? Why not play guard with a small bit of AdMech? Or you should just give up AdMech and play guard and knights. You know, Genestealer cults are on the way, and they're way better, Justin. You should just play them if you want to do well. But wait a second. I've been winning multiple tournaments. I've been 5-1 in a number of major tournaments last year. How is that possible if AdMech are such a terrible army? You can't possibly win a tournament with a low-tier army, can you? Well, we tend to look at the players like Nick Nanavati, who seemingly has a different army every time he plays at a major and seems to win without ever playing them before. Is it really the army that's making him win, though? I don't think so. Nick is an excellent player, and what we don't tend to see or want to talk about is the many practice games he plays and all the strategy he goes over with all the other excellent players that he surrounds himself with. The army certainly may help, but it's not what's going to win you a major tournament. I think the key to winning with an army that people don't think is possible to win with is a real understanding of what that army can offer, its strong points, its weak points, and how to play to those strengths and weaknesses. You need to look at other hidden combos that many other people may have discounted. Look for ways to surprise your opponent with less used units. The biggest advantage you can have over an opponent is knowledge of the game and practice. I've decided to bring on a guest who really brings that point home, in my opinion. Skari has for a long time, as far as I know, have stuck to pretty much one army or another, Dark Eldar or Black Templars earlier in his career. He was winning games with Dark Eldar long before the current iteration, and I wanted to talk to him a little bit about his past as a 40k player and what he's hoping to achieve this 2019 season. All right, Skari, how's it going?
It's going fantastic, thank you.
Awesome. So just a quick note to everybody here. This is our third time now recording this. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues with Skype before, so we're going to try to sound as natural as possible, but I really did still want to get this into the episode. So
absolutely.
Yeah, first of all, Skari, my third time asking you, but if you could, for those of you listening that do not know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself and what you've been doing.
Awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. Hello, I'm Skari from Scardcast, a humble gamer from Ontario, Canada. Most of you might know me from the YouTube channel, Scardcast, where I do mostly Drukhari-based content, whether it be battle reports, tacticas, and other stuff like that. I also tend to put on events and or do some shoutcasting on Twitch and hobby stuff. So a variety of different things.
Yeah, and I was never fortunate enough to listen to your actual podcast, but I have caught most of your YouTube videos, I do believe. I actually watched your live stream game last night, in fact, with the AdMech. Yeah, you played.
Yeah, that was really fun, actually. I'm thinking of doing like a series of sort of like weeknight fights.
Okay,
where I can get a variety of different gamers, from the area and get them facing off mano a mano, sort of like, wrestling style.
Yep, same thing I'm doing right now. We're doing a weekly Twitch battle report. So,
which so but it wouldn't actually have me on the
right.
on the actual game. It would be me shoutcasting the game and having a couple of guests on. So I think that's going to be a cool new age in battle report makings. So I'm excited about that.
Well, Skari, the reason I decided to have you on is because the theme of today's show is about, chasing the meta or continuing to play a single army and kind of mastering that army and to see if that can help you win games. But why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit how you got started in 40K?
Okay, so I started the game, I want to say about 20 years ago with the old 3rd edition box set that had the Dark Eldar and the Black Templars.
Yep, same one me and my brother got.
Yeah, and we quickly found out that the Space Marine side of that box was skewed, a little skewed. Having a land speeder back in the day was a big deal when your opponents only had Strength 3 poison weaponry.
Yeah, and power armor that actually did something.
Yeah. Before power armor was actually quite scary. And I ended up playing with the Black Templars for the longest time. And that was like my go-to army until, I want to say 2010 or so, 2008, 2010, when I really started fiddling around and playing with the Dark Eldar. And then from there, I've kind of, through thick and thin, through good and bad, I've been playing with the Dark Kin ever since, really.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that 2008 was like 10 years ago.
It's crazy, right?
Because every time I think about it, I was like, oh yeah, 2 years ago, right? No, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
I also Codex was still 13 years old even then.
Right, yeah. I still have my 3rd edition Dark Eldar Codex somewhere around my house. I even have a 2nd edition Orc Codex that was sent to me as a gift, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I
never played
Orcs. Well.
Yeah, but Dark Eldar was not easy to play back then. They never really did well. So you kind of had to learn the intricacies. Yeah,
but it was mostly that nobody knew how to play them well. That was the different story.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of the same for Eldar in like 4th and 5th edition a little bit. I was following the guy that ran like the Simham blog and trying out all the like hundreds of jet bikes, and even when Eldar wasn't considered a good army, there were ways to play them. So, because if we look back, even before 8th edition Dark Eldar, you were winning games, right? You were winning tournaments even.
Yeah. Definitely. I hadn't really kind of jumped into the high competitive, like big major events or anything. But then again, that there wasn't really such a thing.
Yeah, there weren't a lot.
And I was busy with business and work, so I didn't really have the time to go to many big events. However, yes, I was definitely known to have a good, hard hitting Dark Eldar army that wasn't very common.
Right, and that's kind of what the same thing I'm trying to do with the AdMech right now, playing the fist bots instead of the shooty ones, running no knight and other things like that, because people don't expect you to bring that army. And when you know the rules of the game a little bit better, you know how to move things around the table a little bit better, you can win games with armies that people say are crap right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about that like general commentary. People online, the most vocal minority of the community tends to be some of the most negative people in the community. And they tend to skew like popular discourse towards the the negative aspects of specific armies and whatnot, instead of focusing on the things that could work or would work.
Yeah, you listen to podcasts out there, whether it's Chapter Tactics or The Long War, Forge the Narrative, and they're doing these little codex reviews, and they come across a unit and they're like, "Wow, that's a really bad unit. I wouldn't ever bring that." And then they come across another one saying, "Oh, this one's awesome," and then people just take it to heart. They never actually practice. They never actually use those other units to see if they can do anything.
Exactly, and that sort of. Like and that's not like it's sort of what we expect as a community. Like, instead of really testing things for ourselves, we live in an information rich sort of environment just in general in our lives, where we take things at face value and we kind of trust that people's previous experience will kind of mimic our own, instead of really kind of trying to make the experience our own.
Yeah, and I think people just need to realize, when you listen to these other guys on podcasts doing these codex reviews and talking about the new stuff coming out, they've never played any of it either, right? It's not like they've got 100 games with that stuff in yet. They've never played it. They have as much information as any of us.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to the point, where if you want something to be meta, then you want to make it meta yourself.
Exactly.
Where things that were never considered good or part of the meta, were never heard of until some schlum like every one of us, some just gamer, and that goes out to his local game store and plays games. It doesn't matter if their name is Brandon Grant or their name is Skari or whatever it is. That person goes to an event and just shows people that there is use in such a unit, and that it can be effectively used in a competitive setting, and then people start believing. Whereas if you want to make meta, make it yourself. Be the meta.
Yeah, it's like, for example, you look at Sean Naden and Lichtershame.
Yes.
That's a perfect example. Even you may not know him, but Trent Northington with the Hellhounds, that he won Flying Monkey with those, but nobody was using them until them. Yeah, the Artemia pattern Hellhounds.
Yeah, and those are the kind of things that people don't. They don't look at things. They don't give things a second chance, and then all of a sudden you have somebody going around and really showing people what can be done or what the potential is, and it's because they're willing to take that risk. They're willing to fight against the grain and really kind of show folks what is possible.
Yeah. Well, Skari, getting back to you a little bit, where does the name Skari come from?
So Skari was the name of my old Tomb King. So back when I played Tomb Kings in Warhammer Fantasy, and so I wanted a name that kind of sounded Tomb Kingy without being like Fred the Tomb King, so I kind of made that name up, and then the whole Scarred Cast thing came along because I ended up doing the podcast, which was all about being scarred. And having a cast, aka having an impact on people who listened to the podcast. I got Goat Boy to make some really cool artwork. It was like a Black Templar, like yelling into a microphone with some earphones on, very podcast style. Mm-hmm. And that's and they kind of stuck from there, and everything kind of stemmed from that sort of play on words, really.
Well, do you have? I guess let's get into a little bit with your YouTube channel, because that's kind of mainly what you're doing now with Twitch, right?
Yeah, well, YouTube mostly, Twitch, and then I do a lot of stuff for Patreon as well.
Yep. What plans do you have for the 2019 season and your YouTube channel, if any?
Well, the plans itself, I am continuing to focus on the competitive the track of the ITC.
Okay.
That's definitely a big plan. In terms of YouTube and stuff like that, I've always focused on being a people's gamer. I don't really subscribe to the whole chasing every single new release and everything like that. Like, you'll see the odd new release, that I do like reviews on and whatnot, but I'm not constantly chasing that rabbit. And especially with the painting and stuff, I'm a gamer's man painter. Like our motto is #just put paint on it. Mm-hmm. We believe that a lot of the issues that you have in your hobby life are just solved by #just putting paint on it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just grab a paintbrush, grab some paints, and put paint on it. So what you can expect for the 2019 season is coverage of all the events that I go to, tactical breakdowns of the meta itself, as well as help building lists or analysis of things that are trending. So you can kind of get an idea of how to plan or what to expect or how to get better at your game, whether you're a competitive gamer or you're just a basement gamer.
Well, that's definitely awesome to hear. And speaking of events, you should be going to the ETC again this year, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm now currently the co-captain of the Canadian ETC team. Sorry, the Canadian ETC team. We are wrapping up our team selection presently, and we'll be getting the team together and going over to Serbia this year. It's in Novi Sad in early August. I'm very excited to go for my second year, and I cannot wait for Canada to start being more relevant on the international stage when it comes to competitive gaming.
Well, are you going to be playing Dark Eldar then again this year?
Well, that's the plan at the moment, but I'm definitely not married to the idea.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that have to happen between now specifically and the ETC itself. And I'm definitely a kind of person that can take any army to an event and do okay with it. Yeah. So, I'm what's called a, toolbox like team.
Sure.
Team person. So it doesn't matter if I'm playing Imperial Guard or Knights. I'll play what the team needs me to play.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of like ETC and the ITC, I think it's a big argument over here about like which format you should be playing. Do you have a preference of the two?
Yeah, I prefer the ETC format. I feel that the randomness in game and the swinginess makes you be a better player.
So for those people out there that aren't familiar with the ETC format, can you go into it a little bit detail?
Absolutely. So the ETC format is very, very loyal to the out-of-the-book format.
Okay.
So it's a mixture of the different forms of gameplay. You have an Eternal War format, which is like your end of game objectives.
Okay.
You have a Maelstrom of War element in each game, which is like your Maelstrom cards. And you also have things like kill points or the relic or things like that add to the game itself. So at the end of the game, you're adding all these different elements together: kill points, Maelstrom cards, end of game objectives, and creating a point differential. And you have to be able to understand what strengths your army has, what weaknesses your army has, and leverage those in game in order to get the most points you can out of the mission format.
Now, I have a question. So back in like 6th and 7th edition, when they were kind of introducing the Maelstrom cards, I absolutely loved playing with those. I was not a fan of the ITC missions during those editions. I preferred playing the book missions with the cards. How exactly do they use the cards in like in an ETC style tournament? Do you just bring a whole deck?
Yeah, so you bring your deck. Everybody gets to play with the standard deck out of the book.
Okay.
And so there's no differences between like factions or whatnot. And,
do you ever have any problems with people changing the deck?
What, sorry?
I was asking, do you ever have any problems with like people changing the deck or having too many of one card and not enough of another in there?
Oh, that's not an issue that I've seen.
Okay.
Definitely, it's something that can be checked at any moment by a judge or whatnot.
Sure.
But it would be getting caught with something like that at an international event like that would be paramount to disaster for your country. So
yeah,
it's not something that I think people are willing to risk.
Yeah, I think I tried to set up a tournament. I can't remember when, but I tried to set up a tournament with Maelstrom cards, just trying to do some different missions, and pretty much everyone brought up that point, like, oh, people are just going to create their own decks and they're going to cheat and do all this other kind of stuff. So I ended up not doing that style of tournament, but I've always wanted to.
I honestly feel that would just be that's just the naysayers not liking change, to be honest. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the easiest way to do it is just roll a D66 and you keep track of it
on the book.
You have a sheet during your game. You just keep track of what cards you have in play.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, I just want to say congrats, by the way, because going to the ETC is no small thing. So being co-captain of a country's team is really awesome. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this year. It's great. It's such an experience. If you can, find out, in your own country, whether it's the US or whether it's Canada or whether it's Mexico or any part in Europe, how the application process in your country works and you feel like you have what it takes to apply to and potentially get on your ETC team, make sure you reach out, find out, who's the captain for your team, and see how it is that you can get involved. Because if you are one of those gamers that's just really good but doesn't get out very much, like ETC is awesome.
Yeah, I think here in America you have to win the LVO or something like that, and as much of as a surprise this may come to some people, I have yet to do that. So I'm trying real hard.
Hey man, there's always next year.
There is always next year, and they just released the dates today, I do believe, for the 2020 LVO.
Seems like it's the last weekend of January, which is super
a little bit
exciting.
earlier this year, which I'm
excited about, because it adds a little bit of time between that and my event, which is the Barry Bash, which happens on the last weekend of February every year. And it means that folks will be able to get back, relax,
have a little
and have some
practice time
to decompress, before we jump into the new season.
All right. Well, Skari, I think we'll go ahead and call it here. And then if you could do me a favor and let people know where they can find your content at.
Absolutely. So come on over to the YouTube channel, which is Skardcast. That's SKAREDCAST on YouTube. And then from there, you can find links to Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, Facebook, anything that you'd like to get in touch. If you have any questions in terms of army list building advice or anything like that, make sure you reach out to me. I do content creation full time, so I'm definitely available to help you guys out if you need any help.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, and we will catch you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's really exciting. I love the podcast. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. Skari had made a really good point there in the middle of the interview. We were talking about playing with new units, and he said that until somebody had gone out there and proven a list was good, for example, Lictors or Hellhounds, the list wasn't good yet. You create the meta. Anybody can do it. Don't be afraid to experiment with your games. Bring something that everybody else swears is bad and just see what you can do. Today, some of my team went out and played at a few tournaments over the last weekend, so I've decided to go ahead and bring them on to have a chat again. All right, guys, I've got my team with me here again. I've got Randall, the Glass Hammer Nelson. Oh, it's the Glass Cannon. Sorry. I messed it up. Okay, we gotta stop. So hard. All right, I'm gonna let it keep recording, but I'm gonna start again. Okay. All right, guys, I've got my team with me here again. We've got Randall, the Glass Cannon Nelson.
Yellow.
And Corey, the Tiki Nalemo.
How's it going, everybody?
How is it going, guys?
I'm doing well over here. How about yourself?
Well, I have had a number of technical issues trying to record this interview with Skari, so hopefully when this episode releases, we'll have that interview. If not, I might have to do something else instead, but we'll see.
Yeah, let me know if there's any. I'll see if I can look up anything for those temp files.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this podcast right now and I did get an interview with Skari, or we did get it working, you will have already heard it. If not, we tried to record the interview 3 times and just kept having failures with Skype, so we'll see.
All right, so what...
Guys.
Rando, you went to a RTT tournament this weekend, correct?
2 of them.
Yeah, I went to 2 of them, 2 days in a row, and let me tell you what, they were a lot of fun. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. But it was to get to the tournaments. I had to Detroit Rock City. I was coming off on ramp sideways due to the snow we get here in Colorado, and it was I made it to Saturday's event with 1 minute left to sign up and get in.
Nice.
Oh man,
gotta love those kind of entries.
Well, Randall, do you want to talk about the event a little bit, and then we'll go into how you did?
Yeah, so here in Colorado, we got an RPG role-playing style D&D event called Genghis Khan. It's been going on a long time, and they do a pretty good job. They get a lot of vendors in, ChessX, and some smaller RPG companies and so on and so forth. So it's a fun event. We finally got them to start playing a little 40K every year there. We had 2 different individuals run 2 different tournaments, Saturday and Sunday. The first one was a single battalion mono codex 2,000 point RTT, 3 rounds with custom rules packets. I decided to take Eldar due to the stringent, and I mean stringent, painting requirements. And it just happened to be my only army that I had painted at the time. So at 2,000 points in a single battalion, it's kind of difficult.
Well, the guys that run that, the single battalion, they're very hobby focused. So
100%, absolutely. And there was a lot of beautiful armies there that day. So I'll just run through the tournament real quick. I showed up and I got to play a very wonderful gentleman named Kyle McCormick. He runs the Olympus Games and Comics up there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And he also ran Sunday's event as well.
Oh, okay.
So, yep. I do forget what he was playing. It was some sort of guard nonsense. I don't think he had a knight, but some sort of guard nonsense.
Well, he better not have had a knight with a single battalion.
Yeah, well, oh shit. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a real close game. We started a little late due to me showing up on the nick of time, and I ended up winning that one 21-18, a pretty close game. It actually kind of looked like he was winning for the most part, but I ended up pulling ahead like a 4-point swing on the last turn. So that was kind of cool.
Real quick, Randall, before we go on, what kind of missions were they playing?
So they were based on ITC. Essentially, there was a 42-point standard. You had the kill one, hold one, kill more, hold more, and then the secondaries were all static, and they were custom to each mission. So,
okay,
yeah, and they were difficult, very, very difficult. So,
I just wanted to preface that before we kept talking about it, just in case people weren't aware.
No, absolutely, it's a good idea. Round 2, I love this guy. He was very cool. His name's Randy. So the two Randalls at the tournament were both playing each other, which we kind of laughed about. But I showed up with my, mono Eldar list with 3 fire prisms and an avatar and an autarch and a farseer and so forth. And he showed up with an entire literal battalion of Dark Angels, the original power armor. Oh, full tack squads, full devastator squads, jump assault infantry, and I mean, just that's it.
So how did that game go?
Well, a little bit of a 31-13 win for myself.
Nice.
The guy told me when we started, again, wonderful opponent, and I did love playing him. We had a good laugh, but there was a point in the game where he almost walked away because he had 30 TAC Marines essentially and couldn't shoot anything because my vehicle was 1 inch closer than my Avatar of Cain.
Oh.
He didn't know the rule, and I didn't know he didn't know the rule. And he about lost it. So we shook hands, and he came back and said, "Sorry for getting angry." And I said, "That's okay." So wonderful guy. So round 3, again, actually, I played Nathan Cartmichael, one of our team members, and he was playing
that loser.
Yeah,
just kidding.
And I ended up he was playing Grey Knights, which was interesting. We were both 2-0 going into that game. And I thought he had it because he had the Dread Knight that had the 2-up invuln save, and he did that every turn, and he was just, keeping him in my face and holding a lot of pressure. But Eldar shooting is quite phenomenal. So a 33-7 win up.
It can be, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Those dirty space elves.
Yep. So the day ended with a 3-0. And I actually took second in battle points. So they did all the painting awards and the hobby awards separate from the actual tournament results. And somebody playing Tyranids from Colorado Springs ended up taking more battle points with some Horde Tyranid army.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So,
I mean, if you guys look at like the not CanCon, but I guess it was CanCon, the one in Australia.
Yep.
Yeah. The guy that took like 300 Termagants or whatever.
He played very fast. I watched some of the video of that.
Yeah. I mean, he won all 8 games. So
dang.
Yeah. Quite the accomplishment. But when you got board control, you got it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can speed play like that, that's amazing.
Oh, that guy, he was very fast.
Yep. I watched one of his games on stream.
Yep. I was watching, and I had some guys over, and we were sitting on the couch with popcorn on the big screen with Twitch going, watching a Warhammer 40K tournament. I thought that was the coolest thing.
We also had it on the big screen at my house while some people were playing Age of Sigmar.
Oh, geez. There you go. Well,
so he had another tournament.
Yeah, so I know last episode I spoke about trying to go primary Grey Knights, and the Sunday tournament was a 2,000 point regular 40K ITC event, RTT. So using the championship missions and so on and so forth. So I bust out this Grey Knight list that I had not played a single game with before, and I went an astonishing 0-2-1.
So you lost 2 games and you tied 1.
Yep, that's exactly what happened there, and they were wonderful games.
Well, tell us what happened.
Yeah.
Why do you think you lost those games?
So I'm going to go with game 1. I played against a guy named Dylan, the Ace Grant. He's from up in Cheyenne, wonderful player, and he was playing the Castellan list. But his twist on it was, instead of Blood Angels or what have you in that 3rd detachment, he put in a patrol of Death Watch with a watch captain for rerolls and then just a big unit of veterans. And that was his scalpel, for those hard to get to units that the Castellan may not be able to shoot or whatever. But when that thing drops, it's nasty. So, but yeah, I played the Castellan list, and let's just say in 3 turns I failed 6 charges.
Ouch. It will happen. Yeah, it happens.
I didn't have any rerolls except for the the CP reroll, and I figured out my mistake and I've rectified it. So. Game 2 was a very interesting game. I played against Necrons. He had 3 6-man units of Wraiths, and a couple of Annihilation Barge. Not Annihilation Barge. What's the tank, Corey?
The Annihilation Barge.
Doomsday Arc. There you go.
Doomsday Arc? Okay.
Yeah, he had a couple Doomsday Arcs, the 3 units of Wraiths, a big unit of Gauss Bikes, and then
okay.
And then a couple of characters and, this and that. So
what dynasty was he running?
Novak. Novak was his primary and then I forget what he ran in his other ones, but nothing too specific. And that game actually is kind of funny. We ended up tying 13-13.
So you both sucked equally.
Oh, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
And his army was so fast. When I dropped my big paladin squad, he just ran away from it. My paladin squad just kind of trucked on the board for 2 turns, just trying to get to where they were going.
So you've lost 1 now and you've tied 1. Going into your 3rd game, who are you playing?
I'm playing another local. He's new and upcoming, and he was playing he had his knight, and his admech, and he had the big destroyer blob, the big robot blob, just all the nonsense, and so he had a knight, 2 armigers, and then a admech battalion, it looked like. So
you mean there's another player that has admech here?
actually he does. So, and I got his information, and I'm going to start playing with him, and maybe I can rope him into joining us. So he's a pretty good player. Yeah, he ended up beating me 35-12 as well. So,
oh man,
yeah, it was not a good day.
Blown off the table there. Wow. Yeah. So I know you had, and to be honest, you're not the only one, because there's like a guy in the admin competitive team chat with me that's also doing this, but you ran a big squad of 10 paladins, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So what do you think about that squad?
I absolutely love that squad. Currently, they're all equipped with halberds, and then I've got one with a demon hammer. And when they drop down with Drago right next to them, they reroll a hit on everything. So they're getting their 40 Stormbolter shots, right? And the Terminator, so it's at full 24 inches. When necessary, I dropped a stratagem to give it a +1 strength and +1 AP. So now they're strength 5, neg 1, rerolling everything to hit, right? Wounding probably mostly what I want to shoot out on 3s. So that's pretty fantastic. I get 50% wounds on that. So
were you just not able to get them into combat? Is that why you
that's
think
exactly what it was? Yeah. So what I changed is I was running 2 big 10-man strike squads and a Terminator squad. I erased all that, and now I've got 1 strike squad of 10 and 2 5-man strike squads. And then I added in a brother captain, and I made him warlord and gave him the Grey Knight's reroll failed charges warlord trait. And then I calculated everything out, and I am deep striking almost 1,000 points of my army on turn 2. So
can I make a suggestion maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
Have you thought about running Guillemon in the list for the +1 to advance and charge rolls for all Imperium?
Can he deep strike?
Guillemon cannot deep strike, but what you can do is move and advance him for 2 turns and get him into a position where he's going to be within 12 inches of where your guys are deep striking.
It's probably worth playtesting, but the rerollable charge, deep striking down with the unit, it just feels a lot better, and I don't have to pull out a bunch of points for Guillemon, but he is really good though. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is a freaking beat stick. He's in pretty much all of my lists now, just because I can run that combo with the fist spots where I've got the Manipulus, I've got Guillemon, and I've got the +3 to charge, so I've got a total of +5 to charge.
Oh, wow.
Oy.
Yeah, and it hurts some things, so...
No, absolutely. I'm gonna go with my buddy and try to get a Guillemon off him and do some playtesting with it. What's his point cost these days?
400.
Yeah,
my heart.
Yeah, it's a tough bullet to bite.
It's he has a Lord of War choice, so he's either going to be in an auxiliary, in a super heavy detachment with 2 Terminus Ultras, or in a Supreme Command.
Jeez, what are you taking a Supreme Command with him? That'd be worth it. I mean, for me,
there's actually a really. It would not be Grey Knights, although you could bring him in a Grey Knight Supreme Command because they all have the Adeptus Astartes keyword.
Oh, there you go.
But I think the better, so you could bring your brother captain. You could bring like one of the grand captains in the whatever that armor is.
Like Voldus. I'd bring Lord Voldus.
What's the guys in the baby carriages? What are they called again?
Oh, the
Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knights.
You could bring
Nemesis Dread Knights as the HQ unit.
Yeah, so you could bring Drago, Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight, Brother Captain, and Guillemon all in one detachment.
That is a really expensive detachment.
Yeah, that is.
It's an incredibly expensive detachment to go along with your incredibly expensive Paladin unit.
Yeah.
But it could work. I don't know.
Actually, you know what I found I had the most trouble with was actually screening. That was, and it wasn't just regular screening, or it wasn't advanced screening or anything. It was just guard screening, And so another change I made to the list, on top of adding the rerollable failed charges, is a second Wyvern in my Imperial Guard detachment to help clear those screens out. Because then for 2 CP, I'm getting 3 Wyvern shots a turn.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I can use that other Wyvern to suppress if necessary. Like I'll go take a guard squad out, or an orc, a couple of orc hordes. I'll go shoot one, and then I'll use my second Wyvern to suppress with that other stratagem on the detachment. So, yeah. So I have a lot more faith in this version of the list after playtesting 3 games in a competitive environment. And so I'm really excited to get some playtesting in. So.
Now, you had Nick help you with that one, didn't you?
No. Nick actually gave me an idea. Well, he gave me the Grey Knight version, the Grey Knight part of it, so the 10 Paladins, essentially, right? Yeah. And that's the idea that Nick wanted to go with due to the new Stormbolter rules. He said that's going to be really powerful, so I went with the 10 Paladins. Everything else, I kind of just filled in the blanks for what I could get for the tournament, so.
Yeah. I guess, can you run me through a Paladin stats real quick? Because I've never actually seen them used in 8th edition.
Yeah, I mean, they're basic Space Marine stats, except 2 to hit for close combat, 3 ballistic skill, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, 2 up, 5 up. So, and then 3 attacks apiece.
How many points for each one?
Oh, 50, if not more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's decently expensive. It's not
the worst, but
it's not the worst.
A 10-man squad costs 500 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think of what would 10 aggressors cost? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
10 aggressors is, I think, I believe a 5-man pack of aggressors is 263 or something close to that.
Okay. Similar.
And I'm not trying to discount your list at all, Randall, because I think it is a cool list, especially if you're trying to go Grey Knights. I understand that Grey Knights, they, as far as I know, can't take Primaris, right?
Not regularly, no. They don't have access to all
Okay.
that. That's kind of what I feel like GW is going to go with. The only way to fix Grey Knights is to completely change them, right? And how do you do that? Well, you give them the damn old Primaris treatment. So if they did that would be cool. And I'd probably go for it. And that's probably what they need to be. A more elite army, more wounds, But we'll see.
I just feel like an aggressor is probably points for points more efficient, more shots, power fists, and things like that. I mean, obviously, they're not going to have as good of a save, and they're not going to have a 2-up weapon skill. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Their shooting twice is really powerful. I just played a game recently up against Zach Scar, Gene Stealer Cult, and with one unit of them, I'm easily able to wipe away 2 units of any basic infantry.
Yeah,
just
because
from
what do they
one.
have, like 6 plus D6 shots or something like that?
For what?
They have, and a single aggressor has a flat 6 shots plus D6 shots, and they get to shoot twice if they don't move, or they can assault or advance without suffering a penalty.
Yeah.
So you throw something else on there, like any of the stratagems from what was I playing them as? I was playing them as Black Ravens, not Black Ravens. What is that? Jeez. Raven Guard.
Raven Guard, yeah.
So they get -1 ahead if you're outside 12 inches. You can give them more buffs, defensive buffs like that. But then they get that scout move in the beginning for the stratagem for the 1 CP.
Yeah.
That was really nice for me because I could move up, and then first turn I can double tap.
Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah. So I think, I haven't dug too much into the Grey Knight Codex. Obviously, I don't play them. I haven't played Grey Knights since they were Demon Hunters back in 5th edition. But I'm sure there is something in there that people haven't picked up on. And, I was just talking about this with Skari and also in the beginning of the show. Like, if you really understand how your Codex works, then you can win games. Like, there's no reason you can't win games. Any army can. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to tell you, on game 3 on day 2, when I was actually playing the Grey Knight army, the Andrew, the guy I was playing against, was starting to get frustrated because for the first 2 or 3 turns, even though I was getting my ass kicked, I was hanging in there point for point with him. and he sat there and he almost threw his dice, and he's like, if I lose this game because you just outplay me, I'm going to be so mad.
That's one of the joys of playing with Necrons and just getting somebody who immediately just like shuts them down. It's like, oh, Necrons, this should be an easy game. And you go in there and, it's still going to be hard fought, but I love seeing the reactions on people's face when you just start dishing out a lot more damage than they think you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Randall, is there anything in the Grey Knight Codex that you've come across that you think might be worth trying out in the future?
Yeah, and it actually refers back to the Paladin squad. So I'm sitting there thinking of how to get them. Like, they're the biggest trouble I'm going to have coming into the next set of games and so on and so forth is playing against Knight list. Like, I have to clear the screen and get into combat with a Knight. And when I do, the best I can get is a 4-up invuln if I cast Sanctuary on them, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking through the Paladins and I'm like, what can I equip them with? What can I do? What can I do to make them better? And I found warding staves. I don't think anybody's thinking about warding staves right now, but the key to them is it's +2 strength, -1 AP, D3 damage, but its special shtick is the +1 invuln save while in combat. So I could take a unit of Paladins and drop them to a 4 with Sanctuary, and then when they get into combat, they'll be Drago level at 3-up invuln. So that's nice. That's some secret tech that I'm thinking about trying one of these days.
All right. Well, I also played in a tournament this weekend.
Ooh.
Yes, it was the basement RTT, specifically my basement RTT. So for those of you guys that do not know, we have 4 tables at my house, complete with terrain and everything. And I really wanted to go to Genghis Khan and play in the same tournaments that Randall did, but unfortunately it was far too expensive for me to go. And I had my daughter the whole weekend. So I really couldn't just go out and do everything I wanted to do. So what I decided to do instead is message the guys over at Frontline Gaming and get a small RTT set up for the same weekend just on Saturday, and invited the first 8 people that wanted to sign up, essentially. So
there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, which almost worked out, except for, as Randall and Corey here know, and for those of you not in Colorado don't know, we had a gigantic fucking snowstorm. Yeah, and it was bad. I think they said it was the single largest amount of snow that's fallen in a day in 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, and I had to drive 2.5 hours in it.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock in the morning. It was great.
So 4 of the people that signed up out of the 8 did not come, and it was understandable, to be honest. The other 4 did. So we just decided to go ahead and still have some fun. We had no round time links. We got a bunch of pizza delivered, and just played a little bit of a round robin. So I played a version of the AdMech list that I've been trying out. I did not use any drills because, once again, I still did not have them at the moment. And I think I did okay. I won 2 of the games and I lost 1, and I lost to Matt Evans, which you guys know very well. Playing
Speaking
his new...
Yeah. Speaking of Matt, he actually won Sunday's event at Genghis Khan with his Gene Stealer cult.
Yeah. So I lost to that very same list. So I don't feel as bad now knowing that he won on Sunday. But the Gene Stealer cult, I think, has a little bit of an issue. It's all really good, but there's almost too much going on. And like, his list has like 6 relics and like 5 warlord traits, and I don't even know where to begin with it really. And over half of his list deep strikes.
Yeah,
like, and you'd be like, oh, well, you can't deep strike more than half your list. Well, with Gene Stealer cult, you can. So
how are those tokens he puts on the field in his deployment zone for the
that completely fucked me in my game. So we played Hammer and Anvil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how I feel about this, but he said, go ahead and just deploy your first 13 units, because my first 13 are going in deep strike, right? Or they're going to be tokens on the field.
Yeah.
So me not thinking about it, I just said, okay, sure. So I deploy my army, right? And then he puts his 3 tokens in front of all of my biggest stuff, and the rest of his army all in a corner opposite, right? So and he gives me first turn, even though he won the roll off, which I did not want. I did not want first turn going against him. Mm-hmm. So I get first turn, I move up, I move my fist up bots and advance everybody, trying to get some board control, which did work out for me in the end. But he, at the end of my movement, he goes and says, okay, all those tokens are now just going to go in deep strike. So now my fist bots and all my stuff that's meant to beat up things and kill things turn 1 have nothing to fight. No one to charge, no one to shoot at. All the rest of his units were behind a building. So,
holy cow.
So turn 1, I could literally do nothing.
It's really rough. I mean, especially getting forced to go first or even going second. I mean, it's the amount of stuff they do in the beginning is just amazing.
How much CP did he spend, like, in the first turn and pregame?
6 pregame, but I think he starts out with like 20 or something like that.
Oh, so he's like brigade double battalion.
I think he's got 3 battalions, but then he takes that relic for D3 extra.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I the list I played actually starts with 17. So, I had a Supreme Command of Ultramarines with 2 captains, a librarian and Guillemon. I had a battalion of Death Corps with 2 mortar teams, and then a battalion of AdMech Styges. So I had 5 and 5 and 1 for the Supreme Command, plus 3 for Guillemon, and then another 3 for being Battleforged. So,
yeah, that's a lot of CP.
Yeah, so I never ran out during the game, which was nice, which is a first for me. Usually I spend them all turn 1, just go ahead and blow my load. But
okay, but so he denied you turn 1. So
yeah.
What happened starting turn 2? Because they all have to be there by turn 3. So what's going on?
So his turn 1, he moves everybody out. He's got like both of his brood lords. He's got his hive guard and things like that, and he actually fails to kill anything in his shooting phase. And I'm thinking, okay, sweet. He's actually not in range to charge anything right now. So he's not going to kill anything this turn either. But I forgot that he could shoot his hive guard twice. So he spends the CP to shoot his hive guard again, and then finally gets the kill he needed. So end of turn 1, he's got kill 1, kill more, because I didn't kill anything. I just had hold 1, but I held more because I'd taken half the board at this point,
sure.
Which is where I was kind of on a good footing, because his whole army was only in one corner of the board. I had the other 3 corners. So my turn comes around. I try to spread out even more just to deny some of his deep strike. I played it a bit smarter this time and made sure that none of my big characters like Guillemon were going to be within 18 inches of anybody coming in, so that he couldn't like mental onslaught me, for example, and just take him off the board, which worked as well. So I think I played that right. My turn 2 actually goes pretty good. I kill a couple of units. I tag a ton of stuff with my robots in his line. His turn 2, he still decides to bring a bunch of stuff down, all in that like one corner that I don't have, essentially, and basically just counter assaults everything. And I think he killed both my units of robots. He killed half my infantry at least. He got my mortar teams with the shooting twice hive guard, and it kind of started to go downhill from there. So my turn 3, I try to get back a little bit, but I'm really afraid of getting within 18 of his mental onslaught power, and I think I played it a little bit too defensively. So I kill some Acolyte squads, I kill a bunch of Neophytes, I killed like the rest of his Gaunts, for example, because I think he had 30 or 40 Gaunts. But I didn't get to anything really juicy, so I haven't killed any of his characters, I haven't killed his Hive Guard. Nothing like that. So his turn 3 comes around. He drops in the rest of his stuff and just like decimates half the army. He kills Guillemon. Guillemon gets back up, but with only 1 wound, unfortunately.
It happens.
He kills my librarian. He kills a captain. He kills both my tech priests, I think, and the rest of the infantry that he hadn't killed before. And now he's still got pretty much half of his army on the table, and I've got Guillemon and a couple infantry guys,
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So my turn 4, I just go full on with Guillemon and I kill like 4 units with him. I kill his patriarch, like his warlord and other things like that. But that was my last hurrah, essentially. So his turn 4, he basically wipes up the rest of my board, and I think he tabled me turn 5.
Yeah, there you go. I actually have his list right here if you want to hear it.
Yeah, let's read it out for all those people looking for a good Gene Stealer Cult list, because it is a good one.
Yeah, and he went 3 undefeated rounds on Sunday too as well, so must be doing okay. So
although he did lose, he lost to Will Stamp round 3 at my tournament.
Oh, did he? What was Will playing?
Good old Will with his Thousand Sons beat him.
Wow. Yeah.
Good for him.
Different. Yeah. I heard Thousand Sons are on the up and up though, so
we'll see. Well, go ahead and read off this list. Let's hear it.
Okay, so we have a 1st Battalion Gene Stealer Cult. Let's see here. He's doing the cult creed is the Bladed Cog. He used the Brood Coven in this one, and then 2 extra Sacred Relics. So there's the first 2. So we've already got 3, right? He's got a Magus, and a Patriarch, 3 Neophyte hybrid squads, 10 man. Nothing special in any of them. In his elites, he's got a 10-man pack of Aberrants, 8 power picks, and 2 heavy improvised weapons. And then I'm going to brutalize these names: a Biophagus and a
Biophagus, yeah. Clamavis.
Okay, so there's that. Moving along.
So real quick before we go to his next battalion and what the rest of his units are, there's a couple of reasons why these people are Bladed Cog. The first one is because they get +1 to their invul saves. The second one is because Matt really hates me and AdMech. He has a stratagem that gives him like +2 to hit against AdMech and extra attacks when he hits on 4-ups against AdMech.
They have specialized stratagems for other people's armies.
No, just AdMech.
Oh, just AdMech. Okay.
Yeah. That's
they
the only one in there.
Of them. Don't they? Because they have one against anti-Necrons as well.
I don't think so. I think it's just the Rusted Cogs AdMech stratagem.
Okay. Well, we'll continue.
Either way, the Clamavis gives him like +1 to charge, and then the Biophagus allows him to give the Aberrants either +1 attack, +1 strength, or +1 toughness.
That sounds really good. Oh, and I should add that his Warlord's in this one, and he's got the Warlord trait of Single-Minded Obsession. And then his Patriarch had Mental Onslaught, Mind Control, the Crouchling, and whatever else. So
yeah, so I think the single-minded obsession gives him like +1 leadership or something like that. And then the crouchling allows him to cast another power or re-roll the psychic test.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so he basically always gets mental onslaught off.
Interesting. So then he's got a second battalion of Tyranids, and he's Hive Fleet Kronos. He's got 2 Brood Lords and their power. One's got the Horror, one's got Paroxysm. He's got a 30-man Termagant squad, 2 10-mans, all with Flesh Borers. And then he's got a 6-man Hive Guard squad, as per usual. And then his 3rd battalion, another Gene Stealer Cult battalion. He's got Specialist Detachment, Deliverance, Brood Surge. And then his HQ, he's got an Acolyte Iron Ward and a Primus. And the Primus has got a Warlord trait too, Inscrutable Cunning. And oh my God, the Iron Ward has a Warlord trait too, and it's the Augur of the Insurgent. So whatever those are.
So yeah, so what that one on the Icon Ward does is it allows him to pick a unit, and he can reroll all wounds against that unit.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he like, for example, in my game, he picked my my 5-man Castellan robot unit. So
yep, that'll do it. And then his troops, pretty standard: 214 and a 9-man Acolyte hybrid squad. Nothing fancy in any of them. And then he's got another Clamavis. What is that? A Kellimorph.
Yep, that's the character killer.
Okay, and then a Nexos. Nexos. Nexos.
Yeah, the Nexos allows him to get command points back on a 5-up.
And he's got a perfect 2,000 points.
Yep. So there's a lot of things going on here. Because those guys are Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor, and he's bringing like the Icon Wards and some of those other characters, they pretty much always have +2 to their charge. So they're coming out of Deep Strike, shooting you a bunch, and then charging you on a 7 instead of a 9. And then I think there's some guys that allow him to reroll in there as well. He can basically, with the Aberrant unit, he's always using the getting to move D6 after he comes out of Deep Strike. So he's usually only like a 4 or 5 inch charge away from you with the Aberrants. Mm-hmm. Same with the Acolytes. They show up only 3 inches away and then they shoot. And there's honestly not a lot that you can do about it, because he takes those first 3 turns, to clear your screen, and then he drops in like 1,400 points worth of stuff on turn 3. And I haven't figured out a great way to deal with it at the moment. I mean, I could take more screen, I could just take more guard, but I don't want to play guard, right? I want to play AdMech. So yeah, exactly. I'm still in that thinking process of what to do.
I have yet to play against the Gene Stealer Cult, but I'm excited because obviously I have guard in my list, so I can do some screening, and my big unit just deep strikes down and causes mass mayhem. So I'm hoping that being able to do that and everybody being a psyker will help, mitigate what he's doing. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's why I put the Librarian in my list, thinking maybe I'll get a chance at a deny, but the Librarian was pretty much the first guy to die. So
yeah.
Corey, any new stuff on your front?
I've been kind of playing with both Necron lists and with some more fun lists. I'm going to be hosting an event in April we're going to kind of make it crazy. So I got to shift my gears. We're going to make it a doubles Highlander event.
Oh my goodness.
So we just started getting talks about doing that. I just got a date okayed, but we are going to have a max of 8 tables because they're having a Lord of the Rings event that same day.
Interesting. Lord of the Rings, huh?
So that'd be kind of interesting to go watch in the meantime.
When you think about it, a doubles tournament with 8 tables, that would normally be 16 players, but that's now gives you a max of 32 players.
Yeah, so just a lot of bumping elbows, but
yeah,
I think moving everybody up to 1,500 point or down to 1,500 points isn't a massive change to people's lists. Maybe it just kind of takes out that one extra little bit you had sitting around.
I can't bring my Knight Castellan.
Yeah, and for me, it kind of gets rid of those Castellans or the Paladins or those really big units. But then when we go to single Codex Highlander, I mean, it's very restrictive. But normally, I would make this kind of tournament to benefit Necrons. But I'm actually not. If I end up playing, since I'll be TOing it, I'll only play if need be. But I think I'm gonna run with Mono Demon Slanesh just because I've been putting together lots and lots of the models, and I want an excuse to use them.
I'm gonna try out my new idea. Wait for it, guys. Tech Priest Shame.
Tech Priest Shame. Go ahead and explain that. I need to know.
Yes, let me enlighten you. So, first, you take 2 Supreme Command attachments, and then you take 3 of each Tech Priest there is. Not Call, because we're not going to run a Mars detachment, so I can't bring Call since I'm not Mars. So I take 3 Engine Seers, 3 Dominuses, and 3 Manipuluses, and then put them all in a termite drill.
All right.
I then take another termite drill with like some electro priests or maybe some like secretary hoplites or something, and I put them both in deep strike. Turn 3, they pop up with the tech priests behind the hoplites, so you can't target them. I've got the Manipulus there that gives them all like +6 to their gun ranges, and then I just flamer the shit out of you. And then you're like, what just happened? Maybe I should kill all those guys, but you can't because there's 2 drills and hoplites in your way, and they're all characters.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do for turn 1 and turn 2 when everybody's just shooting you off the board?
Oh, I'm just going to have Guillemon and some scouts.
Oh. So, this is an ITC event, right?
I don't know. But
yeah, we're going to...
Here's the even funnier thing. As you begin to hurt all of these 9 tech priests, they can all heal each other.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
it is the most daft and crazy 40K list I've come up with yet.
Yeah, well, if Greensealer cults are going to show up, they better show up with all their mental onslaught and sniper characters because they're going to need them.
Yeah. You know what would make it even better? If I took a detachment of the Ulyssean Starstriders.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I'll go Rogue Trader on you.
I would actually love to see that. I will give you like bonus points.
I'm just gonna come up with the most ridiculous list I can absolutely think of.
I mean, we could make that a prize because with it being Highlander and being so restrictive, it'd be kind of fun to have. I mean, we're it's obviously gonna be a fun event. We are gonna try to score for put in for the ITC points. But for me, it's mostly gonna be about having some fun and kind of just playing around while the meta is shifting and kind of settling. I'm sure it's going to change if we hear about any new LVO changes to objectives and stuff.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about that a little bit because there was some new news that came out today. So first of all, they've rewritten a lot of the 2019 championship missions for the new season. Yep. And they're also doing the scoring for tournaments differently. So you're going to be getting a different amount of points now when you go to tournaments.
Yep. And they also, I mean, their goal was to have it March 1st, but they're probably going to push it a couple extra weeks so people can start beta testing.
Yeah, so I sent in my draft of the new missions, and I know they received it and looked at it. I don't know if they liked anything I wrote in there, but we'll find out. I am excited for the new points, though. If you guys missed the Frontline Gaming Signals from the Frontline podcast today, or a couple of days ago when you guys are listening to this now, they mentioned that they're going to actually be increasing. They've got a whole new formula that takes many degrees of mathematics to understand. But essentially, your average RTT is actually going to count for a little bit more points now. So they're a little bit more incentive to go to those. And an event like LVO is going to have grant you a lot less points, but still probably more points than any other event out there just because of how large it is. And they're getting rid of that like top 8 kind of thing that they do to score events currently. Because right now, let's say you go to a 200 person event. If you don't get top 8, it really doesn't matter. You might as well have just won an RTT, right? So, what they're doing
on the points is just way too steep.
Yeah, it's like blocky. It's like it's either you get there or you get nothing. So what they're actually going to do now is make it like a basically like a curve, I guess, it's a continuous curve. So now let's say you go to that same 200 person major and you take 20th, for example. Well, before, if you had taken 20th, you might get like 60 or 70 points. Sure. Now, if you take 20th, you might get like 110.
Oh, that's better.
Getting 20th at this big major is now better than winning a local RTT, like it should be, to be honest.
No, absolutely. No, that sounds wonderful. What other, you said so the points per tournament are going to change, so that RTTs count for more. And then you said something about the scoring in the game. Can you talk about that at all?
That's not necessarily changing. We'll probably still have like the 42 points like you guys see it today. So the primary missions are staying the same. The secondaries, there are some new secondaries coming out. If you're not familiar with one of those, they're bringing back gangbusters, for example. They put in King of the Hill, so having a certain number of units within the center of the board each player turn. Trying to remember what the other ones are. So they put in one that I didn't particularly like. It was called Pick Your Poison, and I believe, they said that specifically for when you're playing against Eldar because it was too hard to score against Eldar before. Apparently,
the worst part about that is it directly affects Necrons.
Yeah, it affects a lot of armies that I think they didn't really think about. But we'll see if it's actually in the player.
Can you talk about that rule at all and what it actually says? Or
yeah, do you guys mind? Give me just a second and I will bring it up. So.
I remember it. So you basically pick four categories, all of which are basically everything besides troop choices. So you have flying, Titanic, vehicle, monster, Lord of War, whatever. You pick 4 units and then mark 4 of them for death, basically. You cannot repeat 2 of those keywords more than once. So you can have 2 vehicles and then you have to go into something else that has fly or one other of those keywords.
I'll read it off word for word here. Pick up to 4 keywords from the following list: Psyker, Fly, Jet Bike, Vehicle, Monster, or Titanic. You cannot pick a keyword more than once. For each keyword you pick, nominate an enemy unit with that keyword. Score 1 point for each nominated unit that is destroyed. So, for example, if you're looking at an Eldar list, maybe you pick their Farseer and their unit of 9 Scat Bikes, and then you pick their Wave Serpent and their Crimson Hunter Exarch. And if you kill each one of those units, you get a point for each one. The difference here between that and marked for death is that you do not need to pick something with a power level of 7 or higher.
Yeah, because a lot of lists were getting around that and making that one unusable almost. Because I know in my Imperial Guard battalion, even my Wyverns are 6 power level or less. So they weren't able to, they couldn't pick any of that.
Well, and I suggested having Butcher's Bill come back as well. Or sorry, not Butcher's Bill, but what is it? Gangbusters, because you take a unit like what I like to use, like a big 6-man unit of Castellan robots. Those don't give you any points, and they're hard as fuck to kill. Right. So now it's every 6 wounds inflicted on a unit that has 1 or more model with 3 or more wounds. So if you killed that 5-man unit or 6-man unit of Castellan robots, you're going to get your full 4 points. So the other one that they added in, like I said, was King of the Hill. I'll read King of the Hill off here so you guys can. It says, at the end of the battle round, the player who chose this secondary scores 1 point if they have 2 non-character multi-model units wholly within 6 inches of the center of the table. Units that score King of the Hill cannot also score Recon, Ground Control, or Engineers, and Engineers is the other new one.
Interesting. So, King of the Hill changed a little bit from 7th edition, right? Wasn't it a 7th edition?
Yep. It might have been. I can't remember.
King of the Hills, it probably went somewhere, so we used to have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you've got Engineers, and this is the one that they took from Nova, and they actually worked with the Nova team to come up with this one, because I do believe Nova is going to change to this exact wording as well for their upcoming tournament. It's going to be select 2 non-character, non-fortification units from your army to be Engineers. Starting from battle round 2, if either of these units starts and ends your turn within 3 inches of an objective marker you control, and it did not make any attacks or manifest any psychic powers during your turn, earn 1 point at the end of that turn. These units may not score this objective if they join other units during the course of play or split into multiple units. So it's pretty much the same thing from Nova. You pick 2 units, they sit on objectives for the whole game, and you get points. The problem is they can't be characters, so they're going to be pretty high priority targets for your opponent.
Units of scouts and stuff like that, sitting on the first level of a piece of terrain.
Yeah, like for Admech, I'm going to pick some ranger units that don't do anything, and hopefully they don't get shot by mortars. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean the one thing that keeps it kind of balanced is having 2 units.
Yep.
Which is nice, and they have to be wholly within 6 inches of the center of the table, so they can't be big units. They're going to have to be smaller.
Oh, that's for King of the Hill, but yeah.
Oh, which one?
Or an engineer.
We were talking about engineers. Yeah.
Oh,
but
sorry.
It's okay.
I was reading up, but no, on engineers. Let me see. I had a point on that. Starting with the part that I don't like is that it only starts on battle round 2. I don't like picking secondaries that I can't get first round. Whether somebody's gonna slow play, even if you have a chess clock, you might still only get through a couple of turns.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one thing to think about.
I mean, it's the same for behind enemy lines. Like you can't score that one turn 1.
True.
So it's starting with battle round 2 as well.
Speaking of chess clocks, they're hopefully they took the advice and they're going to change that 10-minute rule down to 5 minutes. That would be. I thought I heard Reese talk something about that.
Yeah, I think they are going to change that. I haven't heard anything about it personally, but we'll see. So, did you guys see the Gene Stealer Cult
Which
fact
one?
that
There
came
was
out?
2.
Yeah, I know. So that's my big gripe today is that there were 2 Gene Stealer Cult facts released at the same time. One of them I quite liked. The other one, well, not so much. And unfortunately, they stuck with the one that I didn't like so much. And the reason I did not like it is because they kept Mental Onslaught exactly how it is. And the other fact that came out changed Mental Onslaught so that it was capped at 6 mortal wounds.
I would prefer that one as well. But, because if they get the leadership bombs on you and their bonuses and so on and so forth, and they have one of the rare 10 leadership models in the game that can cast its power, and it's just brutal.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit in the last podcast. They can get that guy up to leadership 13 and then get you to -2 leadership, and then something like your Knight Castellan, even Guillemon, many other units just auto die. So if you don't have a way to deny the psychic power, you just lose. And there's no way of you stopping it before it comes in because he's deep struck that whole part of his army and they're all going to come in right together. So he has the combo no matter what.
Well, good screening. You gotta, if you can keep your Castellan.
Well, and that's how I stopped it. Yeah. So he never got Mental Onslaught off during our game because I was very, very careful about where my units were placed. And that's really the only thing you can do at this point. If you make a mistake in your movement phase before he comes in, you're pretty much screwed.
That's going to change the game. Are they talking about going to the chapter approved style of deployment missions?
They have been talking about that, but they have not decided on which one they are going to do. And I think what they've I guess maybe they have decided on something, and the decision is to allow people to test it. So they're going to have half the missions with the regular deployment that we've been using, and then half the missions with the new chapter approved style.
Interesting. What do you think about that?
I personally think that we should go to the new chapter approved style of deployment. I mean, to be honest, it's the way that we've played the game for as long as the game's been out, right? And except for 8th edition. Yeah. And do I have an opinion on whether it's better or not than the 8th edition style deployment? No. But what I do have an opinion on is that it changes things. And I think change is very healthy for a competitive meta.
I 100% agree.
When things get static, people stop showing up, people figure out the game, and it gets boring. So anytime that they can change something to kind of mix things up a little bit, I'm down with it.
Absolutely. No, I always liked deploying your whole army and then your opponent deploying their army. I always thought it sped up the deployment phase, and with the addition of chess clocks, you being able to deploy your whole army is probably going to save you some time in the end instead of having deploy your unit, get it right, and then hit your chess clock and then go back and forth. I never liked the idea of that. So I would love to see.
Well, the other thing is I think it has maybe an unintended side effect, but a side effect nonetheless of actually bringing the Knight Castellan into line a little bit. because as it is right now, I deploy units and then you deploy units. And then if I've got a Knight Castellan, I obviously deploy him as the very last thing. So I've got, sight on whatever I want to kill. And then, I didn't go first. So now your Castellan just kills all my guys, position. Right? Yeah. So now if, let's say I lose the roll off and I know I'm going to go second and you've got a Knight Castellan, you have to deploy your whole army first, and then I get to counter deploy against you. So I see you've got a Knight Castellan. I know exactly where it's at, and I'm going to put the stuff that I don't want shot by that Knight Castellan behind terrain or line of sight blocking stuff. And then that makes the Castellan, I think, a lot more of a fair unit.
Nope, absolutely. If you have an opportunity to hide your stuff better against the Castellan, more units are going to survive turn one.
Yep. So in that regards, I think that allows people to kind of play against it and have a little bit of a better chance rather than just leaving it up to a dice roll of whether I win or you win, and makes it a more competitive meta and a more fair meta.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Knight Castellan, what do you think would bring it in line or tone it down without fundamentally changing its stat line or its guns or how it plays? What do you think?
Yeah. So look at the Knight Valiant for a minute. It's a unit that you almost see nobody take, right? But it's still a 28 wound model that can have a 3-up invul, just like the Castellan. Has pretty devastating firepower. I mean, its Flamer's no joke. It's got a ridiculous 10 damage harpoon, right? And and think about how everybody thought that was the Knight to take when the Knight Codex came out. But then when they started leaking some of the stratagems, and they leaked the House Raven stratagem, and then they leaked the relics, and you saw the Call's Wrath, suddenly Call's Wrath makes the Knight Castellan the better option, right? So I think that if, without changing any points, without changing any rules on the Knight Castellan or what he can take, just eliminate the ability to use stratagems in a Knight Super Heavy Auxiliary.
Yeah, I could. That actually makes a lot of sense. I have mine is a little similar, and I'd like to put a restriction on the Raven strat. Make it once per game, like Vect, or is Vect once per game, right?
Vect is not once per game, but the new Gene Stealer Colt Vect is once per game now. Here's the problem, though. How many times do you need to use the Raven strat for it to pretty much cripple your
You're
opponent's
probably
army?
right, just once.
Yeah. So if look at every other codex in the game, there's not a single other codex except for Knights that allows you to take an auxiliary detachment and have access to stratagems or relics. Knights are the only one. So if you want to be that player that brings your Catachan Brigade and a Knight Castellan, fine, but you don't have access to any of the stratagems. And if you don't have access to the stratagems, that means you can't make him a character, you can't give him a 4-up invul, and you can't give him a relic.
You know what? That does do it.
Yeah. And you can't use the Raven stratagem.
I like that. I honestly like it. But it's probably just because I'm sick of seeing the Castellan, but I don't want to see the Castellan go completely away because as part of the game and the meta, it's fun to go up against. It's the complete opposite of a horde army, and you need that balance.
Yeah.
So that would be a solid way of reducing its potency without killing the model.
Yeah, and let's say you still want to have rotate ion shields, for example. Well, you can. You just have to bring an Adeptus Mechanicus detachment, because in the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex, you have the rotate ion shields for Knights, right?
Well, what I think it's really going to force people to do is take armigers.
Mm-hmm.
Your base cost of taking a Castellan is going to go up. Now you have to take a Castellan and 2 armigers?
And 2 armigers. So now you've got a right around 1,000 point detachment that you have to bring if you want to do those things. And that still means that it's an incredibly powerful unit, right? You can still make it just as powerful as it is. You're just going to have to sacrifice some other things. So is a Castellan and armigers bad? No. I mean, it's pretty damn good, to be honest. So it's not like you're losing too much there. But I don't know. So that was my personal solution. The Castellan by itself is still a really powerful unit. It still kills things that it looks at, even if it doesn't have stratagems. But those are what makes it overpowered.
Yeah. No, actually, that's probably the best thing I've ever heard to balance it. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Randall. You're very welcome. I'm the savior of 40K now, don't you know?
All hail.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I think I've covered everything. You know, I'm just gonna go cry myself to sleep every night trying to think of a way to win with Grey Knights. So I think that's my future.
I think you will do a lot more crying than you will do winning.
Oh, Randall, what made you go from playing Necrons to Grey Knights?
Yeah, so I went and played an RTT up in Cheyenne with Kyle and those guys up at Olympus, and I just happened to win best overall with the Necron, went undefeated, and I enjoyed it, but it always comes down to it at the end is I just don't like the play style. There's not enough options. I feel like I'm getting trapped into a certain type of list, you know, and I know, Corey, you know the feeling, you know, just trying to win with one list, and then, you know, everybody kind of knows the stick with Doomsday Scythes right now. So I don't know.
And I think the Doomsday thing is going to go away. I played it in LVO, the Amalgamated Targeting Data Stratagem, and I only got it to go off once out of all 6 games.
You just have bad dice rolling.
Enough to the point where I would have invested in it. Oh, man. I mean, the one time it went off, it won me the whole game, but every other time it either... it's got 2 points in which it can fail on each unit, and it's just the croissants dies so fast that it was just giving my opponent easy kills, and then it was forcing me like that I had to start not taking recon because my planes would die so fast that I'd have to push out my destroyers and my tomb blades much harder than I would normally want just to get my recon. Because if you're playing Necrons, every turn that you don't score more points than them
absolutely,
you know, is terrible.
Yeah, so I just felt trapped in the Necrons, and you know, because we don't really have a whole lot of options and ways to do things, so you have to kind of do it one way or you're done. So I decided, and I've always had my passion for Grey Knights. I've always had an army hidden in the back. You know, I'd break out every once in a while, but you know, I just decided to go for Grey Knights this year and just try to make it work.
Well, sticking with the theme of this show, Randall, I think if you get enough practice with them, because I think that's really the problem right now, is you just haven't practiced enough with them. If you get enough practice with them, then you're going to do better. Obviously, the Beta Bolter rule has helped them out a lot. The points reductions have helped them out a lot. So I think they're better than people are letting on.
You know, it's just play testing. Like I was telling people at the tournament, I said, had I play tested this list, I would have saw the obvious flaw in what I was doing, and then I would have made the changes that I've made now. And, you know, and I probably would have had a better tournament.
Yeah, so just look for what your weaknesses are with Grey Knights, right? And try to fill those with all the myriad of things that Imperium has to offer. I mean, I would seriously consigner Assassins right now.
It's about to get added to the list on Friday.
Yeah,
the list is changing on Friday.
Yeah.
So 85 points.
I think they'll help you out a lot.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and call it here. We'll have the episode up on Friday, and we will see you guys then.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. See ya. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to our second episode. If you like this episode, please check us out on Facebook, iTunes, Twitch, and also now Patreon. Thanks, guys. My name is Justin Kimple, and this has been The Primary Objective.